Is Viking Venus better, the same, or worse than the other ships in the Viking fleet? I'm here on board Viking Venus, and I'm going to answer that question right now. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Gary Bembridge. Welcome aboard Viking Venus. I'm here to help make it easy and fun to discover, plan, and have unforgettable vacations. Is Viking Venus unforgettable? Viking Venus falls very much into the small ship category, and that's something that I really like. It holds 930 guests in total. The ship entered service in 2021, slightly delayed because of the pandemic, and it's over 9 decks. And we'll talk about some of the really great features and some of the features which are pretty fine as we go through this. When you look at Viking Venus from the outside, it looks pretty similar to the other ships in the fleet. When you get inside, you realize it's also basically the same as the other ships in the fleet in terms of actual layout. All of the ships in Viking fleet are basically carbon copies of each other. So let's take a look at what is actually on the ship from a decor and facilities perspective to see if it is actually better or a new twist on the rest of the fleet. One thing that did certainly divide people, certainly when they embarked on Viking Venus with me, was the decor. It is unmistakably Scandinavian in look, so people who were being a little bit unkind said it felt like they were in an IKEA showroom, and other people absolutely loved it. Now personally, I really like the look and feel. So it is kind of understated. It is very bright, it is very light, but it is very, very Scandinavian. However, as you start to explore the ship, you realize and appreciate the quality of the furnishings and the artwork and the decor generally. I think it is a very contemporary looking ship without being really modern and too quirky. So that Scandi look I found really quite relaxing actually, and was a big fan of it. If you're looking for something that's very plush, very rich, you like that kind of old school kind of decor, I don't say that in a bad way, but you like the more traditional kind of look. This is not the sort of thing you're going to see. This is much more like a sort of a more contemporary boutique hotel look rather than perhaps a more nautical look that you might get on more classic lines. Viking is known for a number of kind of iconic and standout venues, and they have all of them, not surprisingly, on board the ship. You have the atrium in the living room. This is the big grand heart of the ship with a big impressive staircase. I really like this space. It is the real heart of the ship, and you find people there all times of the day, which is helped by the cafe and bar that's right there. Guest services are there, booking for restaurants, etc. there. So the living room and atrium is a really fundamental part of the ship. The other key venue, which is pretty magnificent, is the Winter Garden, which is up on the pool deck. This is where you have afternoon tea. Afternoon tea on Viking is one of their iconic and signature activities and events, and it's on every day. It runs sometimes for up to 2 hours, and it's a definite plus. This for me is one of the things that I absolutely loved, the venue and afternoon tea. The other signature venue, which is on Viking Venus as with other ships, is the Explorer Lounge. This is on deck 7 and 8, so it's split across 2 levels. It has loads of seating area which overlook the bow of the ship, so it's particularly good on sea days, and lots of comfortable seats. It has a bar there, and also within there it has Mamson's, which is a dining venue, and I will come to the dining venues and talk about those in a short while, because some really key things that you need to know about the dining venues. The Explorer Lounge is a place where you will find people all day sitting in there. It's a great place to unwind, and it's pretty quiet even though it gets really, really busy. The other signature areas on the ship are the 2 pool decks. You have the central pool deck, which has a retractable roof, and this is a beautiful, beautiful venue, really comfortable chairs around, and when you have great weather with that retractable roof open, it's fantastic. But even more famous than that is the infinity pool, which is at the rear of the ship. This is fantastic, particularly on sea days as you're sailing out or putting out a port and swimming in that pool. It is, again, a signature part of Viking, and it's here as you would expect on Viking Venus. In terms of entertainment, there's a couple of key venues. You've got the theatre, of course, which of course all cruise ships have, and it's a pretty basic theatre which can run the normal sort of production shows that you would expect, review type things. You also have the late night venue, which is called Torshaven, which is where you'll often have perhaps some classical music in the evening or pop or whatever. And this is where people will gather sort of after the show and late into the evening. So it tends to open sort of 9 until midnight or 1 a.m. One of the things that I think is fantastic on board Viking ships and on Viking Venus is they have a fully wraparound promenade deck. So you're able to walk around the whole of the ship, which is a real big plus. Unfortunately, many modern cruise ships have done away with the wraparound promenade deck. It's here, it's a classic in cruising, and for me that was something I really liked. I love walking around that deck, particularly when you're sailing. There's a really big spa area, good fitness gym. They don't have classes as such, so there's no actual classes run and extra fees for classes. You can actually go into the spa area, so you have the jacuzzi, the cold room, the bubbling hot thermal baths, and you don't have to pay to use those facilities, unlike on other cruise lines. You just have to book to go in there. As important as what's on the ship is what's not on the ship. So there is no casino, for example, on board. There's no photo center where they sell photographs. There's no art auctions and art dealership area. There are, of course, shops on board, a few limited shops, but they don't have the big promotions, out, put the tables out, with selling inch of gold, etc. So it's a pretty sophisticated and understated shopping opportunities on Viking Venus. There are two other really important things to talk about when it comes to Viking ships and Viking Venus specifically. Let's start by talking first of all about dining. Now, all dining is included within the Viking fare, and you have a huge range of venues and opportunities to dine. And I must say, I found the food particularly outstanding on Viking Venus, really outstanding. But let's talk about the venues. So as I mentioned, they're all included in the fare. So you have the restaurant, which is the main dining room, normally open for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And that's pretty popular. The World Cafe is really popular. That's the buffet restaurant, and again open for all those meal options. The number of stations and the choice is perhaps smaller than you might get on other cruise lines, being a smaller ship, but certainly I've found the range pretty extensive and the quality really good. It has things like sushi. We had Chateaubriand up there for dinner, so very sort of high end, as they say. You also sit out on deck and have food from the World Cafe, which is called the Aquavita Terrace, and that's actually where the infinity pool is. The pool grill by the indoor pool is another great venue. It's mostly open during the day. Really high quality things like burgers, seared tuna, veggie burgers, that kind of stuff. Really excellent burgers. There are two specialty dining venues, again included within the fare. There's an Italian which is called Manfredi's, and Manfredi's is known for particularly its ribeye steak. Manfredi's is actually named after one of the original creators of Silversea, who was really good friends with the people who set up Viking. Then you have the chef's table. That was actually my favorite. The chef's table has a set menu and it's themed around different regions or places. So for example, when I was on board, we had an Asian night called Asian Panorama. We had a British menu, and then there was a Californian menu. Those are included and you just have to make reservations for those. There's also a private dining rooms that you can book out. There is then of course room service, which has a pretty big menu actually. Right up on the very top of the ship is a sports deck area, which is actually really nicely protected. It's right up in the front of the ship. It has a little crazy golf, table tennis, the usual sort of things you would expect. It's also a really great place to go and sit in sea days. There's some really comfortable seating up there. There's one more really important thing to talk about, and that is accommodation. Now, there's not a wide, huge range of different accommodation grades on Viking Venus. There are basically 3 veranda grades. There's 1 mini suite grade, there's the suites grade, and then there's 1 owner's suite. Now, I can show you everything except for the owner's suite. I got to see all of those. So let's talk about the verandas. You have a standard veranda, which is a pretty good size and looks pretty great and very comfortable. Then a notch up from that, you then have what's known as a deluxe veranda. Again, often it's in a slightly better location. Then you have, heading up from that, what's known as a penthouse veranda suite, which is a little bit bigger, has a sofa and lots of comfortable space. Now, that's not to be confused with a penthouse mini suite or a penthouse suite as it's called. And this, again, of course, as you would expect, it's a little bit bigger. It's a mini suite, so it's still 1 fundamental room. And again, it has great locations. You then have the Explorer Suite. Now, this is actually an Explorer Suite that I'm staying in. Actually splashed out and booked an Explorer Suite for my first Viking cruise. These are 1-bedroom suites, so you have a lounge area, a dining area, you have a dressing area, a bedroom, and a very large and expansive bathroom. There is then 1 owner suite, and unfortunately I didn't get to see the owner suite, but I guess if you are looking to spend the sort of money that an owner suite would be, I'm sure someone will be more than willing to let you know exactly what that looks like. Viking Venus is not for everybody. That is absolutely clear, and that's simply because they won't let everybody on. You have to be over 18 to go on Viking Venus, or in fact any of the Viking ships, whether it be on rivers or the oceans. So certainly you have to be an adult to come on Viking Venus, which I actually really like. Viking Venus is very much in the small ship category definition. It's a very beautiful ship, but it is a carbon copy of the other ships. So it's no better, it's no worse. It is the same as the other ships. Same layout, same facilities. In fact, the decor is basically the same. And there is kind of a running joke with both regular passengers and even the crew at spot the difference, because there are really subtle nuances in terms of difference. Did I like Viking Venus? I really like the ship a lot. I do like the smaller ship, and I did like the decor. Find out more about Viking in this video, where I talk about some of the key differences, and I start off by talking about what actually makes Viking as a cruise line different to all the others. So take a look now, and enjoy. I'll see you over there.